At 73 years old, I learned that being treated like an old man is not the same as being loved like a father. My name is Robert Hayes. Most people call me Bob. I live in a quiet neighborhood outside Columbus, Ohio, in a brick ranch house my late wife, Elaine, and I bought in 1986. It is not fancy, but every corner of it holds a piece of my life. Elaine's rose bushes still grow beside the porch. The kitchen still has the yellow curtains she picked out. In the hallway, there are pencil marks on the doorframe showing how tall our daughter Melissa was at every age. That house was never just a house to me. It was proof. Proof that I worked hard. Proof that Elaine and I built something real. Proof that even after losing her, I still had a place where my memories could sit beside me without feeling like ghosts. Elaine passed away 5 years ago after a long battle with heart disease. Losing her changed me in ways I still cannot explain. For a while, I stopped cooking proper meals. I stopped going to church. I stopped visiting friends. I would sit at the kitchen table with 2 coffee cups out of habit, then put one away before it got cold. My daughter Melissa came around more often after that. At first, I was grateful. She was my only child. She lived about 20 minutes away with her husband Brian and their 2 kids. She started helping with groceries, bills, doctor appointments, and house repairs. She told me I should not be alone so much. "You have us, Dad," she said. "Let me handle things." And because grief makes a man tired, I let her. That was my mistake. Not because a daughter helping her father is wrong, but because I did not notice when help became control. It started small. Melissa began choosing which appointments I needed. She told the doctor she would manage my online medical portal because I was not good with technology. She started opening my email, saying she wanted to make sure I did not miss anything important. She added herself to one of my bank accounts, just in case of emergency. Every step sounded reasonable. That is how control often works. It does not kick down the door. It knocks politely first. The real trouble began when my younger brother, Frank, invited me to visit him in Arizona. Frank and I had not seen each other in nearly 4 years. He was 71 and had recently recovered from surgery. One evening, he called and said, "Bob, we're not getting younger. Come out here. Sit in the sun. We'll talk about old times and pretend we still have knees that work." I laughed harder than I had in months. That night, I bought a plane ticket from Columbus to Phoenix. Nothing extravagant, just one round-trip ticket, one checked bag, and a window seat because Elaine always said clouds looked like unfinished prayers. When I told Melissa, she went quiet. "You bought a ticket?" she asked. "Yes." "Without talking to me first?" I frowned. "Melissa, I'm visiting my brother, not moving to another country." She forced a laugh, but her face was tight. "Dad, you're 73. Airports are confusing now. What if you miss your connection? What if you fall? What if someone scams you? I flew plenty of times before you were born." "That was different." "No," I said. "It was not." She changed the subject, but I could tell she was upset. Over the next few days, she kept bringing it up. She said Arizona was too hot. She said Frank could come to me instead. She said I had been forgetful lately, though the only thing I had forgotten was where I left my reading glasses. Then came the sentence that stayed with me. "Dad, you're not in a position to make decisions like this alone anymore." I stared at her. "What decisions?" "Big ones." "It's a flight, Melissa. It's your safety." I wanted to argue, but I was tired of being treated like a child in my own kitchen. So I only said, "I am going." She smiled sadly, like I was confused and she was being patient. "We'll talk later." The morning of my flight, I woke up at 5. I shaved carefully, put on my navy sweater, packed Elaine's old photo in my bag, and made coffee. My neighbor Carl was supposed to drive me to the airport at 8. At 7:30, my phone rang. It was the airline. The automated voice said my flight had been canceled. At first, I thought it was weather. I turned on the news. Clear skies. No storms in Columbus. No problems in Phoenix. Then I opened my email. There it was. Your reservation has been canceled per customer request. Customer request. I had not canceled anything. I called the airline and waited nearly 40 minutes. When I finally reached someone, the agent told me the cancellation had been made online the night before using my account login. My account login. Only one other person had that information. Melissa. I sat at the kitchen table with my suitcase by the door and felt something inside me go very still. Not angry yet. Just still. When Melissa arrived at 9, she was carrying banana bread and wearing the careful expression she used when she had already decided she was right. Dad, she said softly, I know you're upset. I looked at her. You canceled my flight. She put the banana bread on the counter. I did what I had to do. No, you did what you wanted to do. Her eyes sharpened. You're not seeing the bigger picture. You could have gotten hurt. So you lied. I protected you. You canceled my ticket without asking me. Because you wouldn't listen. There it was. The truth finally. Because I would not obey. I stood slowly. Melissa, I am your father. I am not your child. Her face changed. For the first time, she did not look patient. She looked irritated. Dad, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You're being stubborn. You don't understand how vulnerable you are. I understand more than you think. She crossed her arms. Do you? Because the house is too much for you. The bills are too much. Travel is too much. Mom is gone and you're pretending everything is fine. The mention of Elaine felt like a hand closing around my throat. Do not use your mother to win an argument. I'm not. I'm being realistic. No, I said. You're being controlling. She laughed once, cold and short. Fine. Then maybe I should stop helping altogether. I looked at my daughter, the girl I had taught to ride a bike, the girl whose nightmares I had chased away, the girl Elaine and I had sacrificed for, and I realized she had mistaken my grief for weakness. Maybe I had let her. But that ended that morning. Leave, I said. She blinked. What? Leave my house. She stared at me like she had never heard those words before. Dad, don't be dramatic. I said leave. She grabbed her purse. You'll regret this. I watched her walk out. Then I locked the door. For the first time in years, the silence in the house did not feel lonely. It felt awake. That afternoon, I called the airline and rebooked my ticket. It cost more, but I paid it. Then I called the bank and asked questions I should have asked months earlier. What accounts was Melissa connected to? What permissions did she have? What automatic transfers had been set up? By the end of that call, my hands were shaking. Melissa had not stolen from me exactly, but she had been moving money. Small transfers from my checking account into a household management account she controlled. Payments to contractors I did not remember approving. A monthly care coordination amount she had set up for herself. When I called her about it, she said, Dad, I spend hours helping you. Do you know what professional care costs? I never agreed to pay you. You benefited from it. You took it without asking. I'm your daughter. And that is why it hurts. She hung up. The next morning, I drove myself to an attorney named Karen Whitmore. She specialized in elder law. A friend from church recommended her after his sister tried to force him into selling his condo. Karen was calm, direct, and did not talk to me like I was fragile. After I explained everything, she said, Mr. Hayes, your daughter may believe she is helping, but she has crossed several serious boundaries. The first step is taking back legal and financial control. Hearing those words was like breathing fresh air. Taking back control. We removed Melissa from my accounts. We changed passwords. We revoked online access. We updated my medical contacts. We reviewed the house deed. Karen helped me draft a new will and financial power of attorney, naming Frank and my longtime friend Carl as backups instead of Melissa. Then Karen asked me a question. Do you want your daughter notified? I thought about it. For years, I had softened every consequence in Melissa's life. When she wrecked her first car, I paid the difference. When she and Brian struggled with their mortgage, I helped. When she needed childcare, Elaine stepped in. When she spoke sharply, I told myself she was stressed. Maybe I had mistaken rescue for love. Yes, I said, notify her. Melissa called 2 hours later. She was furious. You removed me from everything? I did. Dad, this is insane. No, canceling my flight was insane. Taking money without asking was insane. Treating me like I lost my rights because I got older was insane. I was helping you. You were controlling me. You're going to trust Uncle Frank over your own daughter? I'm going to trust people who still ask before making decisions about my life. There was silence. Then she said something I will never forget. After everything I've done, this is how you repay me? I closed my eyes. That is the problem, Melissa. You think my independence is something I owe you. She did not answer. 3 days later, I flew to Phoenix. Carl drove me to the airport. He walked with me to security, even though I told him I was fine. At the gate, I bought a coffee and sat by the window. My hands trembled a little, not from fear, but from the strange feeling of choosing for myself again. When the plane lifted off, I looked out at the clouds and thought of Elaine. You would be proud of me, I whispered. Frank was waiting at the Phoenix airport in a straw hat that made him look ridiculous. He hugged me hard and said, About time you remembered you're still alive. I stayed with him for 10 days. We sat on his patio drinking coffee. We talked about our parents, our childhood, our aches, our regrets. We drove through desert roads and ate bad diner food. One afternoon, I told him everything about Melissa. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, Bob, children can love you and still be wrong. That sentence stayed with me. When I returned to Ohio, Melissa was waiting in my driveway. For a moment, I almost turned around and left. But this was still my house. So I got out of Carl's car and walked toward her. She looked tired. Not angry this time. Just tired. Dad, she said, can we talk? I nodded, but I did not unlock the door. We sat on the porch. She cried before speaking. Real tears this time, not the frustrated kind. I thought I was losing you, she said. You were not losing me. You were taking over. I got scared after Mom died. You were so quiet. I thought if I controlled things, I could keep you safe. I looked at her carefully. Safe is not the same as trapped. She nodded. I know that now. Do you? She wiped her face. Karen called me. The bank called me. Brian and I argued for 2 days. He said I was treating you like property. That surprised me. Brian had never been my favorite person, but maybe he had more sense than I gave him credit for. Melissa looked toward the rose bushes. I'm sorry I canceled your flight. I waited. And I'm sorry I moved money without asking. That mattered more. I need you to understand something, I said. I love you. You are my daughter. But you do not own my life because your mother is gone. She covered her mouth. I know. No, listen to me. I may need help someday. Real help. But help will be discussed. It will not be forced. It will not be hidden. And it will not come with you deciding I am too old to be a man. She cried quietly. I don't know how to fix this. You start by respecting the new boundaries. She nodded. Then she asked, Can I still come see you? I looked at my daughter and saw 2 people at once. The little girl who used to run down the hallway into my arms, and the grown woman who had canceled my flight because she thought my choices belonged to her. Yes, I said. You can visit, but you call first. It was not forgiveness. Not yet. It was a door left open with a lock still on it. Months have passed since then. Melissa and I are rebuilding slowly. She no longer handles my money. She no longer opens my mail. She no longer talks to my doctors unless I invite her. Sometimes she slips and starts telling me what I need to do, then catches herself and says, "What do you think, Dad?" That small question has become the bridge between us. What do you think? I think I am 73, not helpless. I think grief made me quiet, but not incompetent. I think love without respect becomes control. And I think no parent should have to fight his own child for the right to live his remaining years as an adult. I still travel now. Not far, not often, but when I want to go somewhere, I go. I visited Frank again in the spring. I took a weekend trip to Lake Erie. I even went to Chicago by train just because Elaine and I had always talked about doing it. Before each trip, I send Melissa the itinerary. Not for permission. For information. There is a difference. Last week I stood in the hallway and looked at the old pencil marks on the doorframe. Melissa at age 5. Melissa at 8. Melissa at 12. She used to stand on her toes and accuse me of marking too low. I ran my fingers over those lines and smiled. A child grows up in inches. A parent grows old in moments. But growing old does not erase the life you built. It does not cancel your voice. It does not hand your home, your money, or your choices to someone else simply because they are younger and louder. My daughter canceled my flight without asking. So I took back my house. I took back my money. And most of all, I took back my life. Not because I stopped loving her, but because I finally remembered how to love myself too.